Hello, everyone. And welcome to CX Today. I'm Charlie, and I am the senior editor here. And I'm thrilled today to be bringing you a webinar on the evolution of contact centers and just where AI might fit into that. And for this conversation, I am not alone. I am joined by two excellent speakers to guide you through today's conversation. First up, we have Chandler Galt, the senior product marketing manager at Zoom. Chandler, thanks very much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, happy to be here. I've been in the contact center industry 10 or 12 years. And in fact, this is a very old picture of me from my first day adding contact. It's probably about time to update my headshot. But yeah, excited to be here and talk about the evolution of CCaaS and kind of where we're headed.
Absolutely. And In Contact, of course, is one of the first cloud contact center vendors. So lots of insights that you can share with us today on the evolution of contact centers. Could you maybe also give us a little bit of insight into your role currently within Zoom?
Yeah, so I'm the product marketing manager for Zoom Contact Center. I'm in charge of enablement for our sales team. I work with our marketing team to build campaigns and ads and emails, and basically, positioning Zoom Contact Center in the market. CCaaS is a crowded market, so a lot of my day job is just trying to figure out how do we position Zoom and show everybody, show the market, show the world that we've got a differentiated solution. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's going to be great to take a look at that later today in the webinar as well, alongside kind of broader contact center lessons. So thanks very much for joining us today, Chandler. And also joining us is Adrian Swinscoe, a customer experience advisor, author, and speaker. Very well known within this space, especially for his podcast, which I advise everybody to seek out. So thanks very much for joining me today, Adrian. How are you doing?
I'm very well, Charlie, and thanks for having me. Thanks for being. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really looking forward to the conversation with Chandler. Chandler and I know each other, and I've spoken about this sort of stuff at length. So I think that it's going to be a really good chat.
Absolutely. And just for all our viewers who are joining us now, could you also kind of give us a little bit of background into your role within contact centers and customer experience?
So I do research, I do advisory work, I do speaking and workshops, and the thing that I have been focusing on the service and experience sort of space and also the contact center space probably for the last 15, 16 years specifically. And I'm really just interested in exploring how do we drive better outcomes for both our customers, our employees, and our businesses. And hopefully if we can hit that trifecta of all three at the same time, then we're in a beautiful place. And so I get to spend a lot of time sort of talking to lots of people, exploring that, and sometimes advising sort of people on that. And so I try to look at it from lots of different kind of angles to try and come up with different clues about how different brands, different organizations can actually drive these better outcomes.
Absolutely. And you've also created a really great report recently, which was getting some praise in our preamble before this chat as well. And we'll show some insights from that too, and maybe share it at the end of the webinar if anybody wants to learn a bit more. But those are our two fabulous speakers. And this is the agenda that we have ahead of us for the next 40 minutes or so. So as you might have guessed, we are on the welcome and introduction stage. But next, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about where we are kind of as a contact center industry right now. And then following that, we'll talk about what comes next in terms of the evolution of contact center operations and technology. And then we'll also talk, as the title of this webinar suggests, a little bit about where AI will fit into this equation. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about Zoom and its role within the contact center too. And finally, we will finish on a Q&A. So if you have any questions at any point during this webinar, please don't be shy, send them in and we'll get to them at the final session. So as promised, let's go into the where are we now section. And on the face of it, the current state of things in contact centers and the wider CX space doesn't look particularly great, particularly where the main researchers are concerned. For starters, Forrester found that CX quality is at an all-time low earlier this year, as evident on the left-hand side of our screen. And then there are prevalent problems within contact center themselves. And Adrian, you've highlighted it, several of these in some of the research that you recently ran, as the screenshot on the right teases. But to some extent, contact centers currently face the same challenges that they always really have: broken processes, attrition, increasing contact volumes. But then there are also a new raft of problems that they must face up to as well. So Adrian, I don't know if you could maybe start by telling us a little bit about the issues that are currently front of mind for most contact center leaders today.
Yeah, so thanks, Charlie. I mean, first of all, I would say that Forrester and the Forrester snapshot that you've got there it's not the only piece of research that is out there that is saying that actually the headline isn't really about quality, it's about customers' frustration and their satisfaction. And I think actually that Forrester's positioning of it being CX quality is at an all-time low, well, I would sort of disagree with that. I would say that customers are frustrated with the experiences that they're getting from many kind of brands. And I think actually what we're seeing lots of brands trying to do their best, or trying to do a lot to actually fulfill and to meet customers' expectations. But I think what's happening is that customer expectations are rising at a rate faster than brands can actually keep up. And that's where we're seeing the gap is. When we say it's at an all-time low, I think it's because the gap has increased markedly over the last couple of years. And so brands are struggling to keep up with customers' expectations. And I think that the thing that we need to bear in mind, so it's not all doom and gloom, but the thing we need to bear in mind is that also in the minds of customers, customer experience, and there's research, I think it comes from Salesforce or something, that says 80% of customers feel that the experience that a brand offers is as important, if not more important, than the products and services that they offer, because the products and services are becoming increasingly commoditized, and therefore the experience is the thing that differentiates us. So it's still a good game to play. There is value there. There is opportunity there for the brands that want to do something different, be courageous, make those, and close that gap with customers. But if we go back to the challenges idea, I think one of the challenges, and I allude to it in this snapshot that you include on the slide, is that I actually think what's emerging, and it's been clear, but maybe it's been clear for a while, but what's really becoming quite stark is that I think there's a lack of balance amongst brands in terms of thinking about the whole customer lifecycle or the whole customer journey sort of equally, and that all the component parts play an important and essential part of it. And one of the areas that suffers, and that's largely because I think of its the economics of it, as it were, is that the contact center doesn't necessarily get the attention and possibly the respect that it deserves. And we can see how that manifests itself in terms of the lack of omni-channel integration. I think that, which is a topic that we've been talking about for a number of years now. I think it was Deloitte in their global contact center survey that found, I think it was last year, that said only like 7 or 8% of global contact center leaders said that they had achieved full omni-channel integration. And I think there's, so that's a big problem. So it's the customers are frustrated with this idea that they can't talk to you in one channel, and then you remember what's going on in another channel, and then it becomes an integrated, seamless experience. Moreover, because of the macroeconomic environment that we're seeing, or we're experiencing, or we have experienced in the last couple of years, I don't think some of the contact centers have been getting the investment that they've needed, and so they've had cost and investment kind of challenges, and then that's exacerbated by this high level of agent turnover because of the lack of investment. They haven't been able to improve the environment, and then to complicate further matters even further, for the last couple of years, we just had this tsunami of generative AI swamping the whole space, where people are being like, oh, we can apply it here, here, and here. And that's just, I think, complicated the whole picture. Not to say that it's not a valuable and useful and very interesting and powerful technology, but it's made the picture way, way more complicated. And so I think it's a fascinating space. It's not all doom and gloom. it's all to play for. Experience is still a differentiator, but the contact center plays an enormously large part in defining the experience that customers have with brands. And I think we need to make sure that we push that to the front and center and give it the attention and respect it deserves.
Yeah, lots of really great points there. And I think what really sticks with me is the point that you made around contact centers not have kind of suffering from a chronic underinvestment almost for years. And now there's just been this big AI boom. Now they've got a mandate to go out and get a lot of this AI technology, but they've not set up in the right way. I guess a classic example of that again might be in quality assurance. There's now lots of really great auto QA tools, but the QA playbook in the contact center hasn't really evolved over the past 20 years in a lot of operations. So they're not best set to leverage those technologies. But yeah, there's many examples like that. And you mentioned kind of the after effects that that problem has in terms of siloed channels, still to experience agent turnover. Chandler, to what extent do you think the tech stacks contact centers currently have are exasperating some of those problems that Adrian's just mentioned?
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, and I think Adrian is spot on that, despite all of the work that we've done collectively over the last couple of decades, contact centers are still seen as cost centers, right? And, you look at the economics of today, I think that also plays a part. Coming out of the Great Recession, we had about 10 years of, Wall Street really valuing growth and, willing to sacrifice a little bit of profitability if the growth targets were there, right? The COVID hit, right? And all of a sudden there's this huge reversion back to profitability because the companies that were going to survive COVID were the ones that had free cash flow and were profitable and had cash to survive the downturn, right? And I think we're still seeing that, the after effects of COVID and Wall Street really hyper focusing on profitability the last few years. And that's always a bad sign for contact centers because, again, a lot of businesses still look at contact centers as a cost center and a place where they can shave budget, they can shave headcount. And at a time where, as Adrian mentioned, customer expectations continue to increase. And one of the important things that when we're talking with prospects and customers is, it's not just about benchmarking your contact center versus your top 2 or 3 competitors. You're also competing against every other brand that your customers interact with. And, Amazon's a great example of that. Amazon shifted every consumer's expectations about what a customer experience should look like over the last 20 years. Today, if we have a package delivered to our porch and it gets stolen off our porch, we expect to just, have a seamless experience to say, hey, this package got stolen, I want a refund or I want another one delivered. And the brand to say, okay. That applies to someone like DoorDash, who's not a direct competitor of Amazon. But if my food gets delivered to my porch and it gets stolen off my porch, I'm expecting that exact same experience that I get with Amazon. So we've got customer expectations that are rising because they're interacting with these brands that are investing in customer experience. So you've got some slower, industries that maybe aren't evolving as fast, but they're still being expected to provide these experiences that, leaders like Amazon are. Thankfully, AI is advancing at just the right time because AI has tremendous potential to drive efficiencies in the contact center and improve customer experience by reducing a lot of the administrative work that agents and supervisors are doing. However, a lot of contact centers are realizing deploying AI on top of their antiquated platforms, and contact centers today integrate an average of 6 different platforms together just for one customer service interaction, right? They've got a CRM, a ticketing platform, a workforce management platform, a quality management platform. They've got old data repositories, and custom workflows that they need to integrate into the customer service process. Trying to deploy AI on top of those Frankenstacks is problematic. AI is, the models have become so powerful at digesting these huge data sets, but when that data is siloed and, not all speaking the same language, AI is not as impactful. So having that one consolidated platform, we're seeing, as we enter this third wave, is really critical for being able to derive the value from AI that's kind of promised.
Yeah, and I think lots of really great points there again. And like if we start with the perception that contact centers are still cost centers, that has meant that it's almost become the place for a lot of business leaders to save money, which is quite interesting, which is sort of really focusing in that investment. So it's not necessarily going into other areas as much as it is into contact centers. But those that are best placed to succeed with AI are in the public cloud. I think that that's common knowledge, and a lot of contact centers aren't there yet. But I guess the technologies are improving so that they can, and this is where we get into our what comes next section. And as you mentioned there, Chandler, you believe there's a third wave of contact center, cloud contact center platforms that's upon us, which will better equip contact centers to handle some of the challenges that we've mentioned and ultimately deliver better customer service experiences. Could you maybe share a little bit more on this?
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. Yeah, we're starting to really see customer experience entering this new era, this wave 3. And it's, two main things are driving that. First is this concept of total experience. And in the past, there are usually kind of two distinct technology platforms. There was your UCaaS, your Unified Communications Platform. That was all the technology that employees use to communicate with each other. And that was, a phone system, that was a chat, video meetings, right? And that was, purchased by IT and used by employees, again, for employee-to-employee communication. On the other side, you had CCaaS, Contact Center as a Service, platform that was employees communicating with customers. Those were, bought on, different contracts. Again, UCaaS was bought by IT, CCaaS was bought by a CX leader. Now we're seeing a blending of these technologies and these platforms. And a quick example of, we've got a lot of customers whose agents are now using Team Chat to interact in real time with subject matter experts when they don't have an answer. So instead of, for a customer, so instead of putting a customer on hold, hey, I need to talk with my manager. Oh, hey, let me go get that answer. They're able to continue talking with the customer while using Team Chat to find the answer that they need. Is that a UCaaS experience? Is that a CCaaS experience? Well, it's kind of blended, and we're seeing the barriers, the silos of this technology kind of coming down. And so this kind of total experience. So that's the first one. The second is, AI really is going to fundamentally change, and already is for a lot of contact centers, fundamentally changing how contact centers and customer service operations function in ways we haven't seen over the last 40, 50 years. You look especially on the workforce management and quality management side. A lot of contact centers now, there is no human involved in the quality management process. There's AI, instead of a quality manager listening to 2 calls per agent per week or month, listening to it, filling out a scorecard, and then coaching the agent on those 2 interactions. AI is able to look at every single interaction, fill out a scorecard if you wanted to, or just summarize it and highlight the key points and just deliver that to the supervisor. And the supervisor can spend more time coaching their agents. That's a fundamental change that we haven't seen in the contact center, space over the last few decades. So, and on the point about AI, we do want to differentiate from a few of our competitors who paint this kind of dystopian view of AI is going to be handling all the elements of customer experience, and agents are just going to be sitting in the background kind of tweaking models. For us, we see technology as it has throughout human history. Technology is invented by humans to eliminate the tasks that we don't want to do, so we can spend more time on the tasks that we do want to do, right? Why was the laundry machine invented? Why was the dishwasher invented? Well, we don't want to spend all day, washing our clothes or washing our dishes. So we invent technology to do that for us so that we can spend more time with our families and art and different things. So we don't see AI replacing humans. We see AI taking the redundant, the mundane tasks in the contact center so that agents and supervisors can focus on more meaningful work. Agents can focus on more meaningful differentiated customer interactions. For example, you think about banks, and a lot of customers have to call into a bank when a loved one has passed away. They need to close accounts or transfer ownership of accounts. Even if a bank could automate that experience, that interaction, would you want to? Right? That's an opportunity where, this is a human being who's struggling through the loss of a loved one. Wouldn't you as a bank want a human agent walking that customer through this process in a delicate time, doing it with empathy rather than automating it? I don't know, maybe some customers would want that automated, but some would want to talk to a human. And we want to, we think contact centers are still going to want to have that option to give to their customers of, yes, you can automate some things, but if you need to talk to a human, we're going to give you that opportunity, and we're going to reduce a lot of those mundane tasks, administrative tasks that agents had to do in the past, and that resulted in longer wait times and things like that.
Yeah, again, Chandler, lots of really good stuff there. And I think one thing that really resonated with me is that, yes, AI will take a lot of the simple stuff. That will make the agent job perhaps more challenging, though. But with kind of the CCaaS, UCaaS element, you have the ability to kind of set up external SME, subject matter expert support channels to help them with that more complex type of interaction. So I think this third wave of contact center, yes, it's about kind of automating the simple stuff, but there's also the element of bolstering an agent's toolkit to be able to handle those more difficult queries too. So lots of good stuff there. And I don't know, Adrian, if you could share your thoughts on this kind of three-wave CCaaS platform in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. I mean, I think it makes complete sense. I mean, I think I would come at it from a slightly zoom out a little bit and look at some of the kind of some of the broader trends and why this makes sense in that sort of like sense. And I think what we're kind of seeing, like, so recently there was a piece of research that came out from Gartner that said 73% of all consumers that they surveyed say that they want to use self-service tools. And I think that's important to add, because most of the time, well, historically, many people have talked about developed self-service tools as call deflection or contact deflection mechanisms. That's cost-saving rhetoric, right? But actually what's happening, and that was probably the case a number of years ago when you think about consumers, but now consumers have actually got to the point where they go, well, actually, we want to self-serve. If you think about that, that makes sense. I mean, because technology has trained us to do this. Not that we've trained technology, we've been trained by it. Like, for example, if you have a question, you pick up your phone and you go, you Google it, right? You go and you search for the answer. That's just how things have evolved. Even my parents, who are in their late 70s, kind of do it. They have a question onto YouTube or onto Google, whatever. And so we've seen the shift in customer behavior. Now, some of those tools are not necessarily as effective as they might be right now, but they will get better over time. And as they get better and more customers can self-serve, particularly around some of the more frequent, simple, straightforward kind of tasks, then what's going to happen is that we'll see is that the if you like, the typology of demand of queries into the contact center, there are things that are going to be hitting an agent's desk are going to be either urgent, complex, complicated. And those are the things that are going to require, so when it's like urgent, then that may be, as to Chandler's point, that may be, then it requires a person to act with empathy and to treat the customer in a slightly different way because of the nature of the query. But when in those complex and complicated ones, then more often than not, the solutions to those problems are going to sit in the middle office or the back office. And they're going to require access to systems and to knowledge and to expertise, personnel, all that sort of stuff that aren't necessarily in the front office, but sit in other parts of the organization. Hence why fusing those two platforms together, a CCaaS and a UCaaS, making it a seamless experience and a seamless system, makes complete sense. Moreover, when you start to think about the capabilities that you can add by leveraging artificial intelligence and how you can enhance that experience, how you can offer previews of what a query is about to an agent as they're coming in. So then maybe quickly identify who might be the right person to talk to, or the right expert to pull into the conversation. All of those things is all about how do I talk about, the way I describe it, how do I operationalize excellence in the moment with all those kind of complicated and complex kind of queries. And we can use the fusing of those platforms and the leveraging of artificial intelligence tools and techniques to make that excellence happen, and it'll just get better over time. So I think that the third wave, I think, is completely completely spot on. It's something that is completely aligned with my kind of view of things. And I think it actually offers some really exciting, really interesting kind of like prospects in terms of what Chandler talks about, developing a total experience to customers. The one thing I would say is that from a customer's perspective, those calls, when somebody's exerted enough effort to try and maybe self-serve and then had to escalate to try and actually reach out to somebody, we have to also realize their expectations go up. Because they've exerted all this effort, they've maybe kind of spent a bit of time waiting, and then they've called. Therefore, the expectation on us as brands or as organizations is that we will offer a quick, effective, and efficient resolution to their problem. If we don't meet that, then we get into a very, very tricky situation. Is that it can make or break a relationship with a customer. There's no point investing in all this sort of like stuff. Then you end up with a back office that it just looks like a bowl of spaghetti. You need to actually make sure that you're investing in both the front office and back office, because you need that whole total experience investment, because it needs to be leveled up across the piece.
Yeah, again, lots of really great stuff there, Adrian. Actually, I think it takes us nicely to kind of how contact centers can start with AI. And there's a couple of bits of interesting research up here. We have a piece of research from Gartner, which suggests customer service leaders must invest in AI to enable, not replace employees. I found that particularly interesting. But there's also kind of a fear when it comes to AI too, and this is the classic example from DPD earlier in this year, whose AI chatbot swore at a customer and wrote a poem at how bad the delivery company was. Apologies if anybody from DPD is watching this. So some interesting bits of info there. But as I said, from what you've just said there, Adrian, I think it does beg the question: how can I start with AI? So I don't know if you could kind of share your response to that.
So, first of all, I would say you don't start with AI. I think what you have to do is you have to start with the experience that you want to deliver. And I think, to say Chandler's point earlier on, he talks about, well, sometimes there'll be occasions where you want to be empathetic, or you want to kind of spend more time because it's the right thing to do. And I think one of the biggest Achilles heels that many brands have is that they say they've got a vision and a strategy for their experience, but when you dig into it, they really don't. Not at a granular enough level that works across the whole customer journey and thinks about different types of customers and different types of scenarios, and asks itself, well, what is the human and tech balance at each of those kind of points? Because only then can you start to be really deliberate about what it is you want to do. So first of all, I think what they need to do is they need to turn around and go, actually, we need to embrace to my point earlier, we need to embrace the contact center as an essential, crucial part of that experience picture. The second thing we need to envision is like what it is that we want to actually achieve. What does it look like across the journey, across different types of customers, different parts of the journey, and what's that human and tech balance? And when you've done that, then we can start thinking about, well, this is the experience. Okay, then what data do I need and what technology do I need in order to fulfill that? So we need to take an experience, data, and tech-led approach in that order, rather than the other way around, which is where most people get to, is they buy a piece of tech and then figure out what they're going to do with it, right? And so I think that's what we need to do, is like, we're not starting with the technology. We need to start with, well, what is good for our customers? What is going to be good for our brand? How do we make that kind of make sense? What do we envision delivering? And it doesn't need to be absolutely accurate. It just needs to be directionally accurate. And that will allow us to think about what technology do we need in order to fulfill, that vision.
Yeah, again, excellent stuff. And it does, I mean, we spotlighted Amazon as a really kind of good example before. And why that comes to mind now is that they know which is the best channel to solve their biggest customer issues. And if a contact center understands its contact center issues, understand what the experience looks like, then they can start to apply the data and the different tech, the different types of AI, the different modalities, sort of address that in the best possible way. So I think lots of really good stuff there, Adrian. But Chandler, it would also be good to hear from you about how your customers are starting to leverage this multicast and AI together to great effect. So I don't know if there's any examples from kind of real life contact centers that you can share with us.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. And I want to echo what Adrian said about starting with the experience that you want to create. At Zoom, we have a lot of different products. We just came out with Zoom Docs a few weeks ago. We've got, of course, video meetings, which most folks know us for, but we have Team Chat, we have Contact Center, we have Zoom Phone, we have WorkVivo. We have all these different pieces of technology. And so when we go in and talk with a business, we don't know exactly what piece of technology they're going to need from our overall portfolio and platform. So we really try to hone in with the customer of what are those experiences you want to create. And then we take a look at our platform and say, okay, well, we think, especially around a phone system, there's some overlap, especially with smaller businesses with Zoom Phone and Zoom Contact Center. So we really have to dig in and understand, well, what exactly do you want to create? And then we can recommend, well, maybe Zoom Phone for this experience you want to create, but then Zoom Contact Center is going to fulfill this other experience you want to create. And oftentimes we are selling both pieces of technology because businesses do want to create these different experiences, though it's all part of the total experience, right? So a couple great examples. First, about the total experience. So we have a BPO, an outsourcer, a customer, that they handle calls for hotels, for customers who want to book a room. In the past, their customers would have, their front staff would have to be interfacing with customers in real time, right? The ones who are actually at the hotel coming to the front desk, and also spending time answering the phone, helping customers book rooms. Well, that's not a great customer experience for the folks in the actual hotel. So they said, well, let's use this outsourcer to handle the booking. So that's what our customer does. Now, those agents handling these calls that are meant for the hotels, those agents are offsite. They're in a different location. They're not actually employees of the hotels. And so there are inevitably questions that they get asked that they don't know the answer to. So, for example, a customer might say, well, hey, is the hotel pool going to be open next weekend when I'm scheduled to go out there? And the agents don't know the answer to that because they don't work at the hotel. So in the past, they were having to email the front staff of the hotel, wait for a response. That was increasing handle times. That was decreasing first call resolution because sometimes they'd have to say, well, I'll get back to you or I'll email you the answer. That's not a great customer experience. Those agents now are using Zoom Team Chat to interface with the hotel staff in real time, ask them those questions so they don't have to put the customer on hold or get back to them at a later date. Again, is that UCaaS? Team Chat has historically been kind of this a UCaaS technology, but here we have agents using that to provide a better customer experience. That's why we wanted to come up with this new term of total experience, because it doesn't quite fit into either one, right? We also have a lot of customers, as I mentioned, leveraging Zoom Phone and Zoom Contact Center for different use cases. And oftentimes there's these transferring of calls between the front and back office, between a phone system and the contact center. And if you are leveraging two different platforms for your phone system and your contact center, oftentimes those calls don't get transferred with context. So, the call gets transferred to the contact center. The contact center agent has to re-ask all the questions that you already answered as a customer, right? That's not a great customer experience as well. Again, leads to longer handle times, lower customer satisfaction. With Zoom, you can provide context. So the employee who's using the Zoom phone and is transferring that call to the contact center, they can pass that call with a summary of what that call has been about, or AI can summarize it for you. And that's just a much better experience. And again, part of that overall total experience. Now, when looking at AI, we have a few customers that are doing incredible things with AI already. We have customers who are leveraging ZVA to reduce call volumes by 70%. As we talked about before, we don't think most businesses are going to be automating all their customer experiences. But as we talk with more and more organizations, we see that there's only like one or two use cases that really drive a majority of customer interactions into the contact center. And a lot of times those one or two use cases are things that can be automated. And you think about back in the day, banks, how many people were calling in just to get their bank balance, right? Before you could go log in online or log into your app on your phone. So many calls just coming in to, just check on their bank balance, right? In wave one, we invented the IVR, right, to handle those types of things. In wave three, we're using AI to handle a lot of these interactions that can be automated, that don't require an agent, don't require empathy. So we are seeing a lot of customers leveraging Zoom Virtual Agent to reduce call volume significantly. We're also seeing customers leverage our summaries and transcriptions to reduce after-call work. We have one customer that previously their after-call work was about 4.5 minutes. The agents had to download a transcription, upload it to the CRM, add dispositions, add notes. And with Zoom, they were able to get after-call work reduced to under 30 seconds. So you think about a contact center with 100 agents, they're handling 20 interactions per agent per day, 5 days a week, that's 10,000 interactions per week. 4 minutes saved, that's 40,000 minutes per saved, around 200,000 minutes per month, and over 2 million minutes per year. As a contact center leader, if I could get 2 million minutes back from my agents, I started thinking about, well, what would I do with that? What would I have them do instead? And also, how significantly could I reduce my wait times if my agents are spending less time doing administrative work and more time back, interacting with customers? So it's pretty remarkable already what our customers are, how they're leveraging AI. But again, to Adrian's point, starting with AI is not the answer, right? You got to make sure you've got the tech stack, you've got the experiences outlined, and then we can have a discussion around, hey, here's how AI can help.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of really good stuff there, Chandler. Actually, one use case of AI actually in there that really caught my attention was that when a contact escalates maybe somewhere else within the organization, that generative AI can summarize what's happened so far and pass it on to the agent. That's essentially making it way easier to achieve an omni-channel contact center, because an agent doesn't have to brief, the agent doesn't have to write something up in the CRM. I thought that was a really fascinating use case, as with all the others. And I think it really kind of shows how contact centers are using this in the space. And I do want to talk a little bit more about Zoom. Now, obviously, you mentioned what you're doing for your customers there, Chandler, and you've spoken a fair bit about Zoom's contact center proposition as well. But Adrian, just from like an outsider's perspective, how do you view kind of Zoom's positioning within the contact center market currently?
I think I'm excited about what they're doing for a number of reasons. One, the scale of their ambition and what they've built over a very short period of time. Chandler, I don't know what the feature count is now, and I'm sure you're going to correct me, but it's somewhere in the region of about 600-700 features or something that they've built. You're probably going to correct me and say it's about 900 now. But it's like
over 1,000, yeah. But...
Right. Okay. They've over the last 2 or 3 years, they've built a contact center platform that has hundreds, now 1,000 different kind of features, and as a development effort, that's quite incredible, I think. And so I tip my kind of hat to them on that. I think also the other thing is that it's natively built in the cloud, which is, there's not very many other pure plays that can say that, and many people are still transitioning to that, or I've got a cloud product and also an on-prem product, but they're natively built in the cloud, so they don't have that any of that legacy. There's no legacy in their platform. I think that what's interesting with the development of the sort of, some people call it multicast, some people call it XCast, it's just like a unified stack. I think the fact that AI is at the core of the platform and runs through everything, so you end up with sort of all the data's in the one place. So whether it's a call and it goes through to different sort of people and it has a whole conversational thread, I think there's a lot of richness in there, particularly if you think about some of the things that I talked about before, where customers, as self-service, the front-end tools mature and more customers are going to be able to self-serve, then the richness of the conversations that agents and their colleagues are going to have it's just going to increase, I think, exponentially. And to be able to apply artificial intelligence to that richness, to be able to draw out more insights, to create more content that might be able to, you can push to the front, that maybe allows increased levels of self-service, or tries to extract some of the tacit knowledge that sits inside some of these experts' kind of heads. Because I saw a frightening statistic the other day which said, it wasn't quite in that an internal thing, but it said that 30% of all service queries, particularly in the realm of field service, are not able to be handled by standard documentation. And actually the answers exist in senior technicians' heads. Mm. And if you're able to capture a lot of that tacit knowledge and to start to codify it, that gets really interesting in terms of all the things that you can do with it. And so, yeah, and I think it's an interesting, I think Zoom, because of their native in the cloud, AI is kind of built through it. Also, the fact that their pricing model, I think, is really interesting because it's well built in. It's not an add-on. It's just, you get it as part of the package is great. But the fact that AI is is fused all the way through it, I think it's what they're doing is super interesting.
Again, lots of good stuff there. And I really like that idea of kind of getting that tacit knowledge written down that exists within the heads of other people. I mean, there's some really great AI innovations out there currently where they kind of auto-generate knowledge articles. They spot gaps within the knowledge base. They see kind of what's happening on customer calls, and they will auto-generate the knowledge articles. Some really fascinating stuff going on out there. But yeah, from the bulk of what you said there, Adrian, you covered so much about why Zoom's well positioned in this market. Chandler, just to close us off on this main section of the webinar, could you tell us what the process is of contact centers to begin implementing their kind of Zoom multicast journey?
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, we meet our customers where they are. Most of you probably on this webinar know Zoom from video meetings. And, during the pandemic, we really transformed how employees communicate with each other. And, they could communicate not just from the office, but from at home and from the coffee shop, wherever they wanted to work. And our customers said, look, we trust you. We trust your platform. This is such a great experience. Can you do the same thing for our contact center? Our employee to customer communications is still broken. We need a better platform, a platform that we trust, a platform that's easy to use, and a truly omni-channel platform. And our CEO, Eric, said, yeah, we can do that. We've got the platform already. We've got the infrastructure. And so he went and hired a bunch of people, really smart people that I have the fortune to work with every day, to build a cloud contact center from scratch. And one of the benefits we have is we were born in this third wave. We're born with AI in mind. There's a lot of contact centers, our competitors out there, who were born in wave 1 or wave 2 and are now trying to figure out how to infuse AI into their platform. We have the benefit of, we were thinking about that from the start. So, but in terms of where organizations can kind of start on their Zoom journey, a lot of them start with video meetings, and then we have a conversation around, We've helped transform employee experience. Now let's talk about customer experience. What are your pain points? What do you like? What are you trying to achieve? And that naturally leads into a conversation about Zoom Contact Center. I will say, though, over the past few quarters, and in fact, last quarter, over 60% of our new Zoom Contact Center business were from companies net new to Zoom. So they weren't purchasing any other Zoom products prior to Zoom Contact Center. So we are starting to get more and more folks, especially in the CX world, realizing, hey, Zoom's not only has a contact center, but it's a great contact center. And some of you I may have met at CCW Las Vegas. If you stop by the booth, you probably heard me ask you, hey, did you know Zoom has a contact center? And there's still a lot of folks out there that don't realize that. And again, if you love Zoom video meetings and you love our UCaaS platform, you're going to love Zoom Contact Center as well, because it's built on that same infrastructure, same ease of use, same trust. So if you're interested, we'd love to have a chat. Also, if you're not ready to move your entire contact center to Zoom, a lot of customers we have start with Zoom Virtual Agent. They've got a contact center, they're locked into a long contract, but they need a virtual agent. And so a lot of our customers will start with Zoom Virtual Agent, and then when that contract's up with the contact center, then they'll say, hey, let's do the whole thing. And then that naturally leads to a discussion around Zoom Quality Management, Zoom Workforce Management, to really have one platform to manage your entire contact center operations.
Yeah, that was really insightful. And actually, I remember it's really interesting that 60% of your customers are net new to Zoom, because you just assumed that they would come on from the UCaaS platform as well. So I found that particularly interesting, Chandler. But also a stat that I saw from Zoom recently was that I think 4 of its top 10 deals in the last quarter came from customers moving from an alternative CCaaS platform. And that perhaps does show sort of the disillusionment a lot of companies have with that second wave sort of CCaaS stack, and the benefits that they see in a more cloud native platform. But yeah, I think that's a great place to kind of close the main part of this webinar. And we will move on to Q&A. I've got a couple of questions that have come in. Before we do, I did mention a couple of times throughout this webinar that Adrian's completed some research on the current state of the contact center. If you'd like to download that research, we'll put up a quick pop-up now, and you can use that and you can download that via the pop-up. But yeah, as I said, a couple of questions now to move on to. And Adrian, I've got one for you to start with. You might have spoken a little bit about this already, but kind of given all of what's to come with the next gen of CCaaS platforms beyond AI in itself, where should brands and their contact center leaders start?
So thank you, Charlie. So first of all, I should say about the that white paper. It was great partnering with Zoom. You should also check it out, because the Zoom design team have done a great job in punking it up. So it is in the theme of, if anybody's familiar with my book Punk CX and how it looks and feels, the white paper is reflective of that, or in tune with that. And so it's probably one of the most it's the most punk white paper you've probably seen in a long time, which I'm really pleased about. But back to your question, I think I'll just go back and repeat the point I made before. I think that we need to recognize that there's so many options out there in terms of technology options. I mean, if anybody is familiar with Scott Brinker and chiefmartech.com and that sort of like Martech landscape sort of thing, there's a mind-boggling number of applications out there that service this whole CX space. I think he's been tracking it now for nearly like 12 or so years, and there's about, last count, I think it's in excess of 13,000 different applications out there. So it's frightening, the choice. But given the amount of choice that's out there, we need to be careful that we don't end up in the situation where the tail is wagging the dog, as it were, right? We need to make sure that we're the dog and it's our tail and we're wagging it. So what I mean by that is that, to reiterate the point, is get clear on your vision. Get clear on what it is, what great looks like for your customers. and figure out how you can deliver that in a way that makes sense for your brand, and your business. And when you do that, and do that to a granular enough level, so you understand what it means across the different journeys, across different types of customers, and what that human tech balance is. When you do that, you'll have a much, much better idea of what sort of technology and where you need to, what sort of technology you need and where to apply it in order to deliver the experience that you want. The challenge is that a lot of that time, a lot of that feels like we need to sit down and think about things, and it looks a lot like doing nothing in many cases because we're thinking, right? And we need to break that cycle of always being busy. So I'll end with this quote, and it's a quote from Einstein. And it says, Einstein once said, "If you give me an hour to solve a problem, I will spend 55 minutes thinking about it and 5 minutes solving it." Unfortunately, what happens in modern businesses is generally the opposite. That we spend 5 minutes thinking about something and 55 minutes solving it, and therein lies our problem. And so I think the way to solve for that is to think about the vision that you want to create and that you want to deliver, and spend time thinking about that in detail. And then when you do that, you'll have done the homework, as it were, in order to make you successful when it comes to technology choice and implementation, and then driving towards those better outcomes.
I think that's a particularly pertinent example for the contact center as well, which has so much day-to-day firefighting to do. So leaders don't have that. They don't think that they have the time to do that sort of ideation work. And there, I mean, maybe there's some quick use cases that you can get, like an auto summarization, maybe can buy them more time. But yeah, it really resonated with me. So thank you, Adrian. I do have one final question now to close the webinar. It's for you, Chandler. You've already kind of shared some examples of how Zoom customers are using AI today, but could you just give us, and that was sort of the question. So could you maybe sum up your favorite use of AI that you've seen across the Zoom Contact Center?
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. And I do want to also echo that piece that Adrian created with us is not only does it have a ton of insights, it is the coolest piece of content I've ever seen in my career. So not only are you going to get a lot out of it, but it's just a pleasure to read. So make sure you check that out. In terms of how our customers are actually leveraging AI. So that's a really good topic that if anybody out there on the call is on the webinar is evaluating AI vendors, really make sure you drill in to get specific use cases, because a lot of people are talking about AI. Fewer are actually really deploying it and deploying it with effect. We are seeing a lot of customers deploying AI. And let me give you a few examples. So first is that post-interaction work. I already told you that we had one customer that's reduced after call work from 4.5 minutes to under 30 seconds. That's one of the most common use cases that we're seeing across our customer base, is that after call or after interaction work reducing significantly with automatic summaries, automatic transcriptions, auto disposition. A lot of that work that agents were having to do in the past, adding in notes, that is completely done by AI now, or at least is possible to be done by AI now, if they want it to. So significantly reducing that after call work. Agent Assist is also something that our customers are seeing tremendous impact from. So having, instead of agents having to go find answers in information warehouses, things like knowledge bases, Agent Assist can go and sift through those things way faster and surface answers in real time without the agent even having to ask. AI is listening, Agent Assist is listening on the back end, listening to that interaction or reading that interaction if it's a chat, and is finding those answers proactively and surfacing them for the agent. That's significantly reducing handle time because agents are not having to go find those answers. For supervisors, we're seeing a huge impact on the workforce management and quality management processes. Those used to be very manual. Some of you out there might still be a very manual process. You might still be using spreadsheets to manage your schedules. You might still be using scorecards to manage the quality process. AI can do that for you today. AI can take a look at your, forecasted, call and interaction volumes, and understand how you need to be staffed, multiple months or years out. On the quality management process, we have customers that have eliminated the need for supervisors to ever listen to a call recording again, ever fill out a scorecard again. Instead, AI is just surfacing those coaching opportunities so that the supervisors can spend more time coaching agents. And then finally, Zoom Virtual Agent. We have a lot of customers that are identifying those use cases, those redundant interactions that can be offloaded to an automated, virtual agent. A lot of those interactions too were previously managed, as I mentioned, by an IVR, but IVRs are pretty limited. It's not a very humanizing process. ZVA is able to humanize that self-service process now by mimicking a human as you're going through that self-service process. So at the end of the day, we're seeing customers leverage AI to reduce all of that work they don't want to do and focus on that work that matters.
Excellent. Yeah, again, lots of really good examples. And what I will really say is unique about Zoom's platform is how for each of those use cases that leverages AI, you kind of benchmark an LLM against them and put the best placed LLM against the use case to maximize the results that they generate. But yeah, lots of really great stuff again there, Chandler. And I will correct you and say the coolest piece of content that you've not seen on CX Today for the white paper. No, that's just me being cheeky. But yeah, I think that's a great place to end today's webinar. So thanks very much to Chandler and Adrian for joining me. And also thanks to everybody for watching too. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.